Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih mahasiswa. Hari ini kita akan melanjutkan pembelajaran kita untuk sistem informasi keperawatan, di mana hari ini ya kita akan belajar mengenal basis data dalam keperawatan. Saya yakin pada pembelajaran sebelumnya, Anda sudah mengenal apa itu database dan bagaimana teknik pembuatan database yang paling sederhana mungkin sudah dikenalkan oleh Pak Hafid, sehingga sekarang hari ini kita akan mengenal basis data yang ada dalam keperawatan. Adapun tujuan pembelajaran kita hari ini adalah untuk mereview kembali apa dan bagaimana database, serta mengenal basis data dalam keperawatan. Nanti akan Bu Hema tunjukkan, mungkin kita mereview sedikit tentang Triple S, SDKI, SLKI, dan SIKI, selalu Triple N, Nanda, NOC, dan NIC, serta kita akan mengenal Omaha System. Kalau kita bicara soal SDKI, SLKI, SIKI, saya yakin Anda semua telah mengenal atau pernah punya bukunya ya, pasti semuanya punya bukunya tentang standar diagnosis keperawatan Indonesia, standar luaran keperawatan Indonesia, dan standar intervensi keperawatan Indonesia. Jadi ini hanya review, kita tidak akan membahas apa itu SDKI, SIKI, SLKI, bagaimana penerapannya. Kita hanya akan mereview bahwa sebenarnya SDKI, SLKI, SIKI ini kurang lebih diperkenalkan 2 tahun terakhir dan merupakan hasil dari standarisasi untuk nursing diagnosa, juga luaran, serta intervensi keperawatan yang dikeluarkan oleh organisasi profesi kita, yaitu Persatuan Perawat Indonesia, dengan harapan ini akan memberikan sebuah kesamaan dalam menegakkan diagnosa. Karena salah satu syarat sebuah profesional itu ya ketika dia bisa mampu mempunyai standarisasi dalam penegakan diagnosa, dalam memberikan intervensi, dan dalam memberikan luaran dari asuhan keperawatan. Dan kita juga tahu bahwa saat ini ketiga Triple S ini, ya Triple S ini masih dalam bentuk buku ya, yang bisa mahasiswa beli langsung ke PPNI. Jadi semua di dalam buku ini merujuk kepada penulisan label, bagaimana menetapkan luaran, dan bagaimana membuat intervensi keperawatan. Ini kita lihat sedikit bahwa dalam tahapan penegakan diagnosis, luaran, serta intervensi keperawatan ini adalah alurnya. Ya, seperti tadi Bu Hema bilang, kita tidak akan membahasnya karena nanti ini Anda akan bahas sendiri di dalam mata kuliah, mungkin adalah asuhan nursing diagnosis di mata kuliah dasar keperawatan, dan di aplikasinya tentu saja Anda akan ketemu di mata kuliah KMB 1 sampai ke mata kuliah klinik ataupun asuhan keperawatan pada anak dan maternitas ya. Ini adalah variasi penulisan label diagnosis dalam keperawatan, mana ada beberapa penulisan yang nanti bisa kita lihat. Semuanya ini diharapkan bisa terstandar. Artinya tidak ada lagi penulisan-penulisan label diagnosis yang kurang tepat. Contohnya seperti hal-hal di bawah ini ya, yang bisa Anda lihat, mana yang penulisan label yang tepat. Oh, nanti bisa dilihat lagi di dalam buku SDKI-nya. Lalu label luaran keperawatan begitu juga. Ada 1 kata sampai dengan 4 kata. Ada bersihan jalan napas, ada curah jantung, dan seterusnya. Ini akan Anda temukan di dalam buku SLKI. Lalu berikutnya adalah penulisan intervensi keperawatan. Jadi di dalam buku SIKI, Anda akan menemukan bahwa intervensi keperawatan itu menggunakan kata benda. bukan kata kerja. Terdiri dari 3 kata atau kurang namun tidak lebih dari 6 kata, lalu mencakup sekitar 18 deskriptor. Yang akhirnya, jika SDKI, SLKI, dan SIKI ini digunakan oleh seluruh perawat Indonesia, kita akan mempunyai sebuah bahasa yang terstandar. Ya, semoga saja ini akan terus berkembang sehingga nantinya para perawat Indonesia memang bisa menggunakan Triple S ini secara maksimal. Ini beberapa label penulisan yang tadi katanya 18 deskriptor. Nah, ini seperti yang Bu Hema bilang tadi, masih dalam bentuk buku. Ya, jadi kalau Anda mau melihat, pastinya Anda akan lihat bukunya. Buka SDKI, buka SLKI, buka SIKI-nya. Gitu kan ya. Lalu bagaimana aplikasinya? Biasanya Anda akan bisa mengambil sebuah kasus, lalu Anda bikin apa bunyi diagnosanya, apa luarannya, apa intervensinya. Nah, itu yang kita harus melakukannya secara manual, melihat ke dalam ketiga buku tersebut. Ya, perlu 3 buku untuk dibaca. Artinya buku ini ya harus dibawa, ditenteng kemana-mana gitu kan. Bahwa dia akan memenuhi tas kita sehingga kita juga perlu waktu untuk melihat diagnosa, luaran, dan intervensi. Dan ini artinya memerlukan sebuah pengembangan lebih lanjut. Tidak hanya dari segi bahasa atau standarisasi bahasa yang digunakan, karena ada beberapa item yang kadang-kadang tidak kita temukan di SDKI, lalu kita mengacu kepada yang kita kenal dengan Nanda Niknok, gitu ya. Sehingga ini adalah kesempatan buat kita, mungkin nanti Anda bisa uji coba, mau coba membuat pengembangan basis data yang mudah diakses dan dilingkan oleh perawat. Artinya yang kita harapkan adalah basis data Triple S ini nanti sudah menjadi basis data yang kalau ada seorang perawat bekerja, lalu dia butuh referensi, dia tinggal masuk ke dalam mungkin tripless.org atau tripless.ppni.go.id dan seterusnya. Dia bisa melihat basis data, lalu dia sudah punya akun, bisa berbayar dan seterusnya sehingga dia bisa mengakses Triple S ini secara mudah. Lalu kita kenal yang selama ini ada yang namanya Nanda, Nik, dan Nok. Ya. Ini adalah bentuk sebuah standarisasi bahasa yang digunakan dan terstruktur, serta ada link antara ketiganya dalam memudahkan. Nah, kalau Anda baca buku Nanda Nik Nok, sama, dia punya versi hard copy, tapi kalau Anda berbayar, Anda bisa mengaksesnya lewat websitenya, sehingga Anda bisa melingkan, melihat apa diagnosanya, apa NOC-nya, apa intervensinya. Bahasa yang digunakan dalam Nanda internasional, NOC dan NIC, memungkinkan untuk dibuat aplikasi komputer dalam bentuk software. Dan ini sudah ada sebenarnya. Tapi karena kita tidak punya akses berbayarnya, maka kita tidak bisa mengaksesnya secara online. Kita masih menggunakan buku, hard copy-nya kalau Anda temukan di perpustakaan kita. Lalu yang ketiga adalah Omaha System. Ya, Omaha System ini sama seperti dengan Nanda Niknok, tapi Omaha System ini adalah sebuah sistem yang lebih ibaratnya sama sudah berkembangnya dan banyak dijadikan acuan oleh para perawat. Berikut kita akan menonton sedikit sebuah video pembelajaran terkait dengan apa itu Omaha System sehingga memberikan gambaran bahwa sebenarnya ada hal-hal yang akan kita kembangkan lebih lanjut ke depannya nanti. Oke.
Hello, I'm Arthur Manilak. I'm one of the PHNs in the southeast neighborhood of Bakersfield. This is the first video module, which will review the very core foundation of the Omaha system. Supervisors and provider charting team has taken all the feedback from a few months ago and decided that reviewing the basics of the Omaha system in a way that lets you rewind and play back topics as much as you'd like would be a great way to help ease into the transition. We realize there'll be questions, so please write them down and address them during your face-to-face training with each supervisor group, which will be announced. So the objective of the first video here will be to describe the Omaha system, its purpose, benefits, and the steps involved with it. The goal is to have the basic understanding of how things are organized. So what is it? The Omaha system is a system that measures the effectiveness of our interventions or what we do for our clients or patients. It just categorizes the information so that you can go back and retrieve it easily. You're able to pull up any information you want quickly. So why change what we do now? Because getting information on how effective our interventions are for our patients is extremely difficult and time-consuming. First, after deciding what exactly you want data for, you have to pull up multiple charts. You have to read every single note, like the 102, flow, KPOW, progress note, just to locate that specific problem or intervention. Then you have to search again to see if it was documented, how the client was before the PHN even came to see him, like what was their baseline. Then you have to read to find out how the PHN addressed those problems. The most important thing to find out in these charts is how the client was after the PHN intervention. Did they improve? And also, how many visits it took for that client to improve. So as you can see with all this, it's a pretty tough task just to get the information needed in order to prove that our interventions are doing all this good for our clients. We need a way to get hard numbers in these specifics that say that what we do help our clients. Okay, so other than that, what does it mean for us? Well, it means significantly less forms to fill out. Eventually the 102 notes, KPOW notes, flow notes, they'll be gone. There will be significantly less typing. You no longer have to type these long narratives, and care plans will be shortened. That means less time typing and more time with our patients. Okay, so less forms and less typing. How? By charting the problems you see along with what you did or what you plan to do about those problems, there's absolutely no change on how you assess. It's just a way of how you document it. Now you're making it sound too easy. Again, you're just recording the problem in your intervention to that problem. Now there are three main steps involved in a completed problem set, which is the foundation of the Omaha system. Like I previously stated, for each problem you discover, you're documenting how you address that problem. Now, if that problem is a high priority problem, you're going to rate that client before your intervention and after interventions until it's an acceptable level. Because these three steps are all you need to know, and I want you to keep this in mind, I'm going to make this the footer of the presentation. So that's really it. Keep in mind, for every problem that you uncover, you're going to document what the problem is, what you did about that problem, and if it's a high priority problem where you're intervening, you're providing a service for them, we want to see how they are before you did that, during, or if it requires multiple interventions, and then after, like what was their end result of what your intervention was. So what's the hard part? The hard part is understanding that things are categorized and organized so they can be easily retrieved. You don't have to memorize anything. All of the resources will be provided to you. So what do I mean by categorizing and organizing? Let's take a look at an example where you need to find something pretty specific, like a book, for example. Say you want to find the latest Stephen King novel. The first step is going to the bookstore. And as you know, the bookstore is divided into many different sections. The second is going to the fiction section. Then because there are so many different types of fiction books, you navigate to the horror section. There you could search for the author and find the particular book that you're looking for. So how does Omaha categorize these things? Well, Omaha's categorized in much the same way. When selecting things like a problem you've observed in a client, you start off broad and then you move more specific. Let's start with step 1 and the problem classification. In the Omaha system, problems, as expected, are issues that you assessed in your client. To document these issues, Omaha categorizes these specific problems into broad domains and organizes them. So you start off broad, and then you move to more specific, just like any outline or hierarchy or taxonomy. And very similar to what we just talked about with the bookstore example. Domains are the broadest, most general category that problems are organized into. There are 4 domains: environmental, psychosocial, physiological, and health-related behavior. Under the environmental domain, problems there include income, sanitation, residence, neighborhood, workplace safety. Under the psychosocial domain, different problems there include things like community resources, social change, role change. Under the physiological domain, specific problems include things like hearing, vision, circulation, postpartum, communicable or infectious conditions. And under the health-related behavior domain, problems here include things like nutrition, substance use, family planning, medication regimen, among others. Let's have an example that you may have come across. So during your home visit, you assess a client that's incorrectly using his asthma inhalers, like using Qvar instead of albuterol for a rescue inhaler. This has led to occasional ER visits. Now, for this one specific problem of the client using incorrect inhalers, the specific problem you would select is his medication regimen under the health-related behavior domain. Now, there could be other problems present that you uncover during your assessment, but realize that they will all be addressed and documented. But right now, we're focusing on recording each problem one at a time. This particular client's problem of using the wrong inhaler. Now, in itself, the problem is broad. All it says is that there's a medication problem involved. There has to be some more details added to be a little more specific. And that's where modifiers come in. Modifiers describe 2 things about the problem you just listed. The first, whose problem is it? Is it an individual problem, family problem, or the community's problem? The second is, what type of problem is it? Is the problem actually happening, or can it potentially happen, or is the problem dealing with health promotion? So in our first modifier, it deals with whose problem is it? Individual, family, or community. You'll see this abbreviated as IFC. An example of an individual problem would be the client is experiencing hypertension or asthma. A family's problem would be the family has a problem with housing. A community problem would be the community's access to clean water. And the second type of modifier deals with the type of problem. Is it an actual, potential, or health promotion problem? You'll see this abbreviated as APHP. An actual problem is where a client is currently experiencing signs and symptoms of a problem, either through assessment or referral. Like if a patient is currently wheezing, or your referral states that the client has a positive toxicity, or the client is currently on medication for hypertension. They're currently and actually experiencing these problems. A potential problem would be no signs and symptoms, but may lead to problems. Like a client that you have a home visit with has a 2-pack a day around an infant. That the infant might not have any signs and symptoms or any respiratory problems, but that's not to say that it will happen. So it's definitely a potential problem for that. And a health promotion problem, we'll rarely use it, but it's anticipatory guidance or what the client requests, like how to get a GED, or they request child care information. So we have our problem. We've added the modifiers to describe whose problem it is and what type of problem it is. Now, to justify why we even listed as a problem, we have to enter the signs and symptoms. And as we already know, signs are objective evidence and symptoms are the subjective evidence. So after that, the final step to listing a problem would just be prioritizing it. Is it high priority or low priority? In general, the problem you address with an intervention or else there'll be a negative outcome is a high priority. If it's something of a lower acuity that doesn't necessarily need to take action on, but something you want to document that you assessed, it's a low priority. So those are the steps for listing a problem. Okay, let's review what we have so far. For every specific problem you find with a patient, you have to use a modifier in order to state whose problem it is, individual, family, or community, and the type of problem, actual, potential, or health promotion. You then have to document the signs and symptoms that you found which led you to listing this as a problem, and then you prioritize the problem high or low. In our example, the client who uses QVAR instead of albuterol for a rescue inhaler, the specific problem would be his medication administration. It's an individual problem because he's the one taking the wrong medication, and it's an actual problem because he's actually and currently taking the wrong medication. There's just not potential of him taking the wrong medication. He's actually taking the wrong medication. The signs and symptoms would be what led you to believe this was a problem with medication regimen. And it would be something like the sign would be a patient showing the PHN that he uses QVAR as a rescue inhaler instead of albuterol. And the symptom would be that he states that the number of inhalers confuses him. Next would be prioritization. And because this is a high priority problem, we rate it as high priority. So now the problem is set up. You document how you address the problem and or how you plan to address the problem on future visits. That takes us to step 2, interventions. Interventions are the actions you take to address a problem you just listed. Just like how the problems are organized, the interventions are organized from broad to specific, broad categories to specific targets. Let's start with categories. Now there are 4 broad categories. These are just a general idea of what your intervention was. So to address the problem you just found, did you provide teaching guidance counseling to address the problem? Are you or will you provide a treatment or procedure for that problem? Will there be case management involved? Think TCM, of course. Or will there be surveillance involved for this problem? Since our problem with our patient is medication regimen, the appropriate category of the kind of intervention we did or will do is teaching guidance and counseling. So now we have the category and the intervention we did to address the problem. To get a little more specific with what our intervention to that particular problem was, we enter a target. Targets are specific actions or activities. And they go into further detail about the category you just chose. They're not categories like problem, like how we listed the problems where there were 4 domains and individual targets were listed under each problem, because there's various targets that can be attached to any of the interventions. In addition, there's client-specific information which further enhances what your intervention was, and they could also be added. So in our example, the category of our intervention is teaching guidance counseling. The specific target of our intervention would be the patient's medication administration, and the client-specific information would be regarding the prescribed use of it, of the medication. Okay. So that's all that's involved with the intervention step. So let's go back and review what we have so far. So documenting each patient problem using the Omaha system. Problems would be his medication regimen, modifier, individual and actual. Signs and symptoms are the ones that's related to the problem. The priority would be high. In interventions, our category would be teaching guidance counseling. Our target would be medication administration, specifically directed towards the prescribed use. So now you documented a specific client event and what actions you took towards that problem. The final step for this problem is proving that your interventions made a positive difference for this patient. And that's where the problem rating scale kicks in. Now, the problem rating scale rates the client's knowledge, behavior, and status of the problem you just listed. Knowledge is what the client knows about the problem. Behavior is what the client does about the problem. And status is how the client is due to the problem. KBS ratings are done for each high priority problem that you provide an intervention for. A rating of 1 to 5 is attributed for the client's knowledge, behavior, and status. The client is rated before your intervention, then periodically until the client shows improvement. The idea is to establish a patient baseline, how they were before your professional intervention. And the goal is to have the hard numbers that prove without doubt that our intervention for these problems gives results. It benefits both the patient and it benefits our department. And it also benefits the county because it's preventing more costly in-hospital procedures for these clients. So again, a rating of 1 to 5 is assigned for the patient's knowledge, behavior, and status. And this table shows the general definitions of expectations of each rating. In our example, the client that uses the wrong inhaler, which has led to some ER visits, would rate the client a 2 because he knows how to use inhalers but can't differentiate between which one's the rescue inhaler. His behavior would be rated a 1 because he's actually and regularly using an incorrect behavior. The status would be rated a 2 because due to his incorrect usage, he has to have visits to the ER on occasion. A score of 1 would be something like if he's currently ill on your visit. So yeah, that's it. Let's finish up the documentation for this one problem set. So the problem, medication regimen. Modifiers would be individual and actual. The signs and symptoms would be related to the problem, and the priority would be high. Our intervention would include teaching guidance counseling directed towards the medication administration, specifically directed towards the prescribed use. And because it's a high priority problem, we're going to rate the problem 1 to 5, and for knowledge, we rated it a 2, behavior, we rated it a 1, and the status of the client would be a 2. Closing a problem set. Once the client scores a 4 to 5 on each KBS. Now, of course, there's exceptions to that rule if that's the highest score they could do, or you have to transfer the patient to another nurse or to another department or another resource. But this is in general. Once the client scores a 4 to 5, then that problem set is closed. To close a case, once each problem set has been closed, you can close the case, or the client declines further services, of course. So that's it. That concludes the first module on Omaha System Basics. To download the presentation notes, just click. Hello, I'm Arthur Manilak. I'm one of the...
Oke. Nah, jadi itu kita sudah mengenal bahwa di luar negeri yang namanya database, terutama untuk nursing proses, itu sudah berkembang beberapa. Contohnya saja tadi ada Nanda Niknok, lalu kemudian ada Omaha System, hampir sama dengan apa yang kita punyai sekarang, yaitu SDKI, SLKI, dan CIKI. Tapi seperti tadi yang Bu Hema bilang bahwa untuk database, Nanda Niknok dan Omaha System yang menggunakan sistem problem identification, terus intervention, and then problem rating outcome-nya itu sudah ibaratnya sudah ada secara database, sehingga para perawat ataupun praktisi dalam mengakses, mereka hanya tinggal login dengan akun masing-masing ke database yang ada. Jadi artinya ini menunjukkan bahwa kita punya peluang yang besar. Mungkin Anda, buat beberapa orang di antara Anda yang tertarik dalam mengembangkan, mungkin setidaknya nanti membuat dulu website di mana orang bisa mengakses apa bunyi diagnosa SDKI, kemudian CIKI-nya dan SLKI-nya, atau kemudian Anda bisa membuat sebuah aplikasi sederhana yang ketika tadi seperti perawat di Omaha System, dia memasukkan data hasil pengkajian, kemudian dia akan muncul pada pilihan mana diagnosa yang harusnya diangkat, lalu kemudian intervensinya, ataupun outcome, rating scale dari yang diharapkan dari pasien ini, itu akan semua ada di dalam satu database, dan memberikan akses yang gampang buat perawat sehingga menghemat waktu, mengurangi mengetik gitu kan ya. Dan juga yang paling penting adalah lebih gampang, ibaratnya seperti one stop shopping gitu kan, dalam satu tempat di satu website si perawat bisa langsung mengakses kepada buku-buku, kalau yang kita adalah SDKI, SLKI, dan PSIKI. Oke, itu untuk kuliah kita hari ini. Mungkin yang bisa menjadi perhatian ataupun tantangan buat mahasiswa semua adalah bagaimana caranya kita mulai mengembangkan sebuah database untuk Triple S kita. Siapa yang tertarik untuk ataupun tertantang untuk melakukan hal ini, silahkan coba dikolaborasikan saja atau dikaji kembali ilmu-ilmu yang kemarin telah dipelajari lewat Pak Hafid. Demikian mahasiswa, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.